Good evening, dear students. As we continue to prepare for the regional mocks all over Cameroon and the GC for 2023, let's talk about 1984 by George Orwell, an English writer who was not very comfortable with the colonial and imperialist policies of England at the time, and decides to write 1984 to tell us about the rise of totalitarian states. We cannot understand 1984 without actually getting an idea of what totalitarianism is all about. Totalitarianism deals with a dictatorial, a despotic leader, and a state which is ruled by one party. And examples of these include Nazi Germany under Hitler, fascist Italy under Mussolini, communist Russia, China, North Korea under Stalin, Mao, and the Kim dynasty, respectively. First of all, the characteristics of totalitarian regimes include a strong central rule that controls all aspects of individual life through repression. You realize that everything is controlled and centered on one spot by the party, and the party dictates on its citizens how they are supposed to live their lives. It sets down the rules through an ideology which everyone has to follow, and those who do not follow the ideology set down by the party are considered to be dissenting voices, and therefore they get into problems with the party itself. Secondly, the leader is projected as a very popular and charismatic person through the use of propaganda. Do not forget that even though nobody knows where Big Brother lives or whether he even exists, yet the way in which he is presented as a benevolent, a fatherly figure who takes care about everything. In short, in Oceania, everything is about Big Brother. No one knows where he lives, yet they know in their subconscious that he exists. And there are posters of him everywhere indicating that he is watching the citizens. So the citizens live in total fear, knowing quite well that they are being monitored by this charismatic leader, and to whom they have to show a lot of loyalty. Thirdly, the totalitarian state can also be considered a police state. A police state because Oceania has a very strong police force called the Thought Police, and it is everywhere. And everybody is a Thought Police officer. And the manner in which the Thought Police operates is such complex that everyone spies on everyone. Although Winston goes to the proletariat side of the town, to have an affair with a prostitute, he knows and is conscious that he might be watched somewhere. And therefore we are not surprised when we learn that the naive Mr. Charrington at the beginning turns out actually to be a Thought Police officer. And O'Brien, who has shown so much giving the impression that he may be also one of those rebelling or who are not very happy about the manner in which Oceania is ruled, happens to be the chief who directs the operations of the Thought Police. Next, the totalitarian state is ruled by party propaganda and brainwashing of its citizens through psychological manipulation. This is very important. Young children are stripped of their feelings for their parents as they are made to join the young spies who monitor their parents. And it doesn't end there. They have the latitude to report their parents to the third place if they realize that their actions are contrary to the ideals or they are being disloyal to Big Brother and the party. It is under such circumstances that we find Mr. Parson at the end at the Ministry of Love. It does not also end there. The party propaganda is so strong in such a way that they even fabricate and arouse people's hatred for enemies who do not exist through the 2 minutes hate and the hate week. And one of these persons that is projected is Emmanuel Goldstein, an imaginary enemy. And they also use the third police and their propaganda to make people to confess to crimes that they had not even committed. This is how Winston comes to realize that Aronson and his band had actually been in New York when the crime to which they are being accused and to which they had confessed takes place. They were not on the scene of the crime. In short, they were not even in Oceania. The next point I want us to note is the fact that a totalitarian regime puts up a monitoring mechanism and they can spend millions on technology just to ensure that the party and the leader is saved. There are telescreens everywhere, in every home, in every street. And there are even microphones in the woods. And even in Mr. Charrington's room, up which Winston rents, which is very dirty, there is a telescreen behind the picture. And it is through this moment, through this way, that they are able to have all the conversations. Winston is surprised to learn from O'Brien that they had been monitoring him for the past 7 years. And it doesn't end there. Even those who work in the same office monitor one another. And so it's even difficult to have people confess. Like I said, the party creates imaginary enemies whom they are made to disappear whenever they have no use for them. And they don't want any party member who can outshine Big Brother. If you do, either by your intelligence or your popularity, you have to be vaporized. Every action in Oceania is scrutinized to see if it's fit to one of the crimes. You have his crime, you have sex crime, you have thought crime. Just thinking alone, thinking a contrary idea to the party's ideology is a crime by itself. When something is being broadcast about Big Brother and you don't wear the correct facial expression, it is referred to as face crime. It's enough for you to be vaporized. And that explains the reason why immediately the telescreen captures Down with Big Brother in Winston's diary. He knows that his time is up. It's just a matter of time for him to be called in by the third police. We also realize that in totalitarian regimes there is manipulation of information. Big Brother's speeches are doctored and tailored in order to suit what the party wants, the image that the party wants to give about him. History is also manipulated. For example, Winston doubts when he reads that aeroplanes were created by the party, whereas he knows that airplanes had been invented ere long. And even the fact that Big Brother had existed before the party itself. These are all creation to give the grandeur that they want to give to the man, the charismatic leader. People are made to understand that there is an increase in production of commodities, when in effect there is a lack of basic commodities like razor blades. And They are also made to understand that the ration for chocolate has increased, whereas it had just been reduced the previous day. And this starts making people like Winston to start doubting the virility or the truth of the propaganda. Do not forget that day in, day out, the telescreen spouts out propaganda to the people, raising and putting a greater image about the party and the greatness of Oceania, when they make the people to believe that Oceania is constantly in war, either with Eurasia or East